Is that the real Rosie? Like Rosie Rodriguez? It normally says Rosie Rodriguez, however, I don't see.
I think it could be Meg's.
Ah, okay. Well, that's why then. All right, welcome everyone to the Builders Call for today. Great to see everyone's faces. Yeah, good to see you, Deborah. Good to see you, Victor. And Ted, of course. Hello, Stacy. And if that's Meg's behind Rosie, hello. And if it's Rosie behind Rosie, still hello. So, so this call happens and Rosie again. We have all of these Rosies. This is a new thing. So this call happens the first and third Tuesdays of the month, and the purpose of it is for anyone that's looking to grow and build an organization to come in a context of best practices. So my objective during our time together is to add and create value, and sometimes that looks like I've got a topic which I'll promote. And then today, what that's going to look like is engagement from each of you about where you're at right now and anything related to building. We're going to have a roundtable conversation about what you want to walk away from today's call with and what you want to collaborate on that's going to support what you're growing and building and taking it to the next level. So, in order to do that, it's going to require participation. And so I'd love to know from each of you what you want to walk away from today's roundtable discussion with, everything in the context of building an organization, attracting talent, recruiting, anything process related, anything people related, anything best practices related. Like literally there's nothing off the table. So it'll be different for everyone because you're in a different place and a different experience around it. However, we want to bring a space to create a conversation around whatever that might be. So who is clear and would like to go first? What do you want to get out of today's time on the Builders Call?
You'd just like to be a better recruiter. Yeah, I just, especially my buddy that I think I talked to you about in Carmel,
Mm-hmm.
David. I think he's closer now, but he went with Compass when Intero closed their office. So we've been talking almost every morning, and his brother. So I just, and it's all on me. I just need to fight for it a little better.
Okay.
Because I mean, those two brothers, the Moldwin brothers, just love me. I've been close to them for 35, 40 years when they started the business back in Blossom Valley of San Jose. So that's my thing. Um, I just need to be better. Right now with David in Carmel, he and I are really chatting almost every morning.
So when you say so let's put this in the context. So you want to be a better recruiter. So what do you feel is working well, and where do you feel there's a gap that could use improvement or support?
Well, for sure, it's not you. It's I can take it all, or Lisa. I'll take it on all myself. I need to. I guess when you say that, I just need to treat them like an expired. Just pound them. And it's almost when I say pound them, that's I'm an old street kid, so that doesn't sound good. But point is to really be after it every day. The list of them. Now you're making me think. So the list of the A's and the list of the B's and the list of the C's and just keep after it because we're doing them a favor. I mean, especially David. Well, no, and Jimmy. Those are the Moldwin brothers, and so talking to myself, I don't want to take a lot of time here on your call here, but you asked and I so I really need to make a list of them, A list, B list, and C. If B's turn into a C, keep at the A and B's and so forth. So I just need to follow up better.
Okay, there's one other thing that I would say is a gap, and we'll talk about that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
have it in my notes, so we'll come back to it. All right, who's next?
Yeah, I could speak up. So this is my first call. And
Welcome,
I'm
Victor.
excited to have, hi, I'm excited to have some time with you later this afternoon to go over my story and how to share that. So that's where I'm at. So I will be taking a lot of notes and looking forward to sharing some success here soon.
Okay, cool. And so for the call today, what is it that you want in the context of the time here as far as what it takes to grow and build an organization with an EXP?
I guess best practices on what has been working for people in the last, let's say 3 to 6 months with a lot of brokerages moving and movement happening, and how that's helping them to connect with agents.
Okay, great. Deborah, how about you?
Good morning. I think for me, it's the best practices always. I'm always trying to, because I become an overthinker sometimes. So the conversations are very natural. The relationships are natural. It's really trying to understand how I can bring the impact, not being an active realtor. Does that make sense? Like I'm truly just the attractor. So how do I know the value, but I feel sometimes like an imposter because I'm not producing. And that's my reality right now.
Okay,
So how do I bridge that gap?
that's a great one. I love that one for many reasons. Okay, fantastic. Stacy.
Hi.
Hi.
So I think today one of my challenges is once you have brought people into the organization, um, keeping them engaged and kind of helping them move forward, especially when they might get frustrated by all the EXP stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff out there, and sometimes they get lost in the, shuffle when they're new.
Mm-hmm. And so you're talking about for people that you're personally sponsoring.
Yes.
Okay, that's a great one as well. Okay, fantastic. And then Rosie, what would you like to add as far as agenda for today?
She put in the chat, no audio or camera on her end.
I won't ask. I'll ask her later. All right, fantastic. So let's start off with Stacy, actually we're going to start with you. We're going to start with what happens when someone comes into the organization and you're a sponsor. We were actually Laura, thank you. Look at you. Look at what you created, Laura. How to be a good sponsor. We were just talking on the call before about different topics for today, and Stacy, you put the one on the agenda that Laura came up with. So let's back up for a second and talk about the 3 different stages that someone goes through as they ultimately end up here. So stage 1, they're in a due diligence process, and that can last weeks, months, or years. So that's stage 1. And it doesn't matter if they're in A, B, or C, they're in due diligence until they're here. So that due diligence process is the stage 1. At the end of the stage 1 is they're making the decision to move over. So that's the actual transition where they transition from where they're at to here. And then stage 3 is they're here and now what? And so Stacy, what you're really talking about is stage 3. So in the due diligence conversation, you're learning all of the reasons what the value is for them. And they're putting the pieces together to see what the value is for them until they're clear that this is where they want to be. So Deborah, question for you. Are you familiar? I'm going to just wind everybody into the conversation because we're going to bounce around. So have you heard of a drug called Viagra?
Yes.
Are you aware that there are women in the pharmaceutical industry that sell and rep that drug?
Yes.
However, they don't use that drug.
True.
And they wouldn't use that drug because it would do nothing for them. So they've never had a firsthand experience of a drug, yet they're repping it and selling it based on what it does. How is that possible?
Oh, you're asking me, how is that possible? I'm all, well, they're the women. No, just, well, let me tell you, mine. No, just kidding. Well, I'd be scared. Anyhow, I mean, yeah, I mean, the obvious is you can sell anything, although I don't feel like this isn't, we're not selling this. This is a life change. I've seen it be a life changing pivot in people's lives, right? From the stories that I've heard.
Yeah.
So
Let's
you're
back
right.
up though. So let's back up. What is the Viagra saleswoman that is very successful selling Viagra? What is, so number one, there has to be a demand in the market, right? For that
Right.
drug.
Correct.
And then the demand has to be there. Number two, it has to work. So there has to be value. And if you've got a demand and you've got something that works that satisfies that value, people will buy. So it doesn't matter that it's a female repping Viagra because the market demands there, the product works, and there's buyers. It's just finding the buyers. So in the same exact context, it doesn't matter that you're not currently selling real estate. There's a demand in the market called agents wanting to grow their businesses, build assets, and improve their lives. That demand is there. The value is that the platform of EXP and everything that it offers, in addition to the community and the collaboration, is based on results, gets those results, right? Because there's value there. So people move here and they grow and they build. And so you're no different than that woman that's selling Viagra, because all you're doing is you're putting yourself in front of a need in the market, which is agents that want to grow and build. You're connecting them with what's going to help them do that, and then having them be part of the community and walk their journey with them as they get those results. And so this is one of the challenging things of building organizations, whether you're in production or not, is to make it about who's coming in versus anything having to do with ourselves. Right. And that is the number one thing that from a mindset perspective gets in the way of people that want to grow and build, is we somehow it becomes about us versus being about who it's actually about, which is the people that are going to benefit from what we have to offer, and the partnership that comes with that. So back to Stacy, I'm going to bounce back to Stacy. If we go into the 3 different stages there are, someone's due diligence period, however long that lasts. And during their due diligence period, you're going to find out and discover what is the value for them coming to EXP. And you're going to know that because they're not going to come to EXP until that's clear for them. And so it should be clear for you if you've been the person that's recruiting them, right? And then with that, now that they're here, it's a matter of how do we help them get and create what they want to create while being here, which is that step 3, Stacy. So now they're here, and how do I be a good sponsor, as far as engagement and moving forward and helping them move forward. And so in the context, that's going to be different for every person. For those of you that use me for 3-way calls, you'll hear me say a lot. I'll reference the movie Big with Tom Hanks, which, if you know that movie, he's his adult self that goes back to be able to see his childhood self at like 8 or 9 years old and get compassion for what his adult experience is based on, knowing that he's going to be okay and having the opportunity to do things. So at the end of that movie, he's walking down the street and he's the adult businessman in the business suit. And all of a sudden then you see that business suit becomes very big because now he's walking down the street as like the 8 or 9-year-old version of himself in that big suit. And so Stacy, once someone has come to EXP, it's how do they want to grow? And then plugging them in to the areas that are going to help and support that growth, right? So let's say someone's coming because they want to take their production to the next level. They want to get in production, they're a newer agent, or they want to grow in that way. Well, then we're getting them in fast cap. doing fast cap over and over and over until their business is where they want it to be because of the structure, the support, and the community that's there, and leveraging EXP for that, right? Your job as a sponsor is not to run around and do everything with and for the person that you sponsor. Your job as a sponsor is to connect them into everything that is available for them. And their job as the person coming in is to show up and participate in those things that are available to them. Each person is responsible for their own outcomes, their own results, and their outcome and results won't have anything to do with their sponsor, like zip, because everything is here at EXP. The sponsor like points them in the direction of, okay, like EXPCon, you want to grow? I'm going to be there. Yes, I'll see you there. And then we'll have community time together. Oh, you want to take your production to the next level? Fast cap. Well, you don't sign up for fast cap, which is going to support you in your production. That is not my responsibility as a sponsor. My responsibility as a sponsor is to make sure you're connected with each thing that's going to help you grow in the next level, whether that's an introduction with a person or a resource or a tool, and being part of that. So if we go to the builder's best practices conversation under on the Empire Builders Pro site, what this falls into for those of you that haven't done it, or for those of you that have yet to do it, or that want to do a refresher on it, is under attraction and recruiting in the Builders Boot Camp. If you scroll all the way down to the upgrade process under video number 6, this is the context of somebody being upgraded in. So there's an upgrade process that happens in the recruiting process when they're in stage 1, right? So Ted, this is where you come into the conversation on how to be a better recruiter. David and his brother, I haven't met them. So the upgrade process for them, which still is yet to do, is step 5, which would be third-party validation, where we're getting together for lunch, or you're putting them on a Zoom with me, right? You're out there attempting to do everything on your own with these guys. And where you're going to get some leverage is through that third-party validation call and bringing me into the conversation so that I can help with that. That's going to upgrade them because it's going to bring a different perspective. It's going to be a different conversation. Victor, you and I were on one of those, right? And it served as an upgrade for you when you were in your due diligence process, and now you're here, right? So, but now you're here, that upgrade process keeps going because today, now you're on this call. So you're getting upgraded again as a result of being on this call. And then we're going to get your story dialed in this afternoon and strategy for you to grow and build, which is going to upgrade you again utilizing one of these tools. And then I'm confident that you're going to be at EXPCon in October, which is going to upgrade you again, right? So the upgrade process is whenever, like, we just had Build LA. That was an upgrade for anybody that's already with us at EXP at that event. Like, they upgrade their vision, they upgrade their belief, they upgrade the relationships in the community, they upgrade what's possible in their business. So that's an example of, like, when there's events that come around or are happening, like, you want to be at those events and you want to get all of your prospects and your organization to those events, because it's going to help build that and be that upgrade. So I'm going to pause there because we started with Stacy and then I bounced to Rosie and over to Victor and into Ted and, all that kind of good stuff. However, in the context of the point that we started with, from how do I be, like, as a sponsor and supporting that roadmap of growth for somebody, Stacy, do you want to come off mute just on any thoughts, comments, question, if you have something specific that you wanted to dig into on that? Because we just went through the high level stuff.
Yes, I think that makes sense, kind of helping steer them in the right direction. But sometimes you steer them in the right direction and something's broken, at EXP. So how do you, make sure that whatever is broken doesn't dissuade them, from staying?
So can you give me an example of what you mean?
So I've got an agent that has tried to get on to some training classes in the calendar, and she goes into the rooms and nobody's there.
And is she in the right room?
I believe so, because she's taking it straight off the training calendar and going to it.
Okay. And what is she wanting training on?
So I mean, she's a new agent, so she needs just all the training. So she's just picking classes like branding and, marketing, all those things.
And has she done fast cap?
She's done fast cap. Yep.
And what else has she done?
I haven't kept track of anything else because I'm not her mentor because she's in a different state.
Okay.
So I'm not her mentor.
So she's plugging into classes and finding that that class isn't happening or it hasn't been.
Right. Yep.
Okay. And how many times does that happen?
A handful.
Like
maybe,
2
maybe
or
5 times. Yeah.
Okay. And so what has been the conversation as a result of that? Like, has there been somebody on the corporate side that you've contacted?
I haven't yet contacted. I'm trying to figure out, one, is she looking at the calendar correctly? Is it a Pacific time thing and she's Eastern time? I'm trying to, but again, if I've got, can she be looking at that, trying to make her not hold her hand, but also not make her feel like she's doesn't have somebody here to support her too.
Yeah. So we have an expert care desk.
And
After the first time that she shows up, supposedly at the right place at the right time, I would have communication with that expert care desk to find out what happened and get into solution about it. So one of the things that happens is that don't wait for there to be multiple times of anything. And quite often when there is multiple times, it's user error versus there actually being an issue. And this is where things build steam and now are out of control or feel out of control and now it's what is the I just sent this to somebody yesterday. It was the greatest thing that it popped up on my feed somewhere, and it said there's a Japanese legend that says if you get on the wrong train, get off at the nearest station. The longer it takes you to get off, the more expensive the return trip will be. And it's not only about trains. So, at the first time that she has that experience, it's like, okay, let's get into solution like right now. Let's get in touch with get in touch with expert care. Here's how you get in touch with expert care. Let me know what you find out. Like, you're not running around doing that. Give it to her to do. Right. And then that gives her opportunity to build relationship with the company and the support systems and structure within the company. Because your job is to focus on you and your business and not like unless you're paying someone and have a support staff role that's going to do all of that for you. Like that's, again, we point people to where the tools and resources are, not be the one to physically do it. So that would be what I would encourage from that perspective. Because the more someone has an experience like that, and then there's multiple experiences, it's building a story or a narrative that is not effective to what she ultimately wants to create. And that would be a real bummer if she decided to go somewhere else because of that specific experience and she wasn't using the tech correctly, or she was in the wrong time zone, or there was not an opportunity to have a dialogue about it. So now we've got something that's building because it's the train's down the track further, right? So from a sponsor perspective, back to like how do we support people? Number one, being in communication with the people that we sponsor to know like where they're at in the journey. And if there are things that are happening, be able to direct them to a place to get into solution, right? I always say someone's committed to being part of the problem because they like being in problems, or they're committed to being part of the solution, in which case it's like, okay, great. How do we get into solution on this right now? Do you have any other specific examples you'd like to walk through on that? You're on mute.
I think my other challenge is just her mentor, has been like, makes comments like, oh, that's a question I would ask my TC. I'm like, oh my gosh. So how, So I've been coaching her to go to the broker room, if her mentor isn't giving her a good answer, but um, you know, that's a little frustrating too, I think, from the mentor side stuff. And the mentor said this more than once to her.
To go to the TC?
Well, that's a question I'd go to my TC, but my agent is a new agent. She doesn't have a TC yet. She's she's not getting offered to, why don't you ask my TC, or the mentor saying, let me ask my TC and I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm. So again, so what do I want to say about the mentor program? Is there's different people that are in the mentor program as mentors for different reasons, right? Some are in there because they really just want to love, teach, and help people, and some are in there for the 10% of helping someone get their transactions done. And that's just, I mean, there's no way that you're going to get around that. So could she get a new mentor? Yeah, she can absolutely get assigned a new mentor. And that would be a conversation that I would have immediately and in a managing expectations, conversation on the EXP end, just say, hey, look, here's been the experience with this mentor, and maybe that helps EXP raise the quality and the caliber of who they have in the mentoring program, and making sure that they have them there for the right reasons, right? Now, I will say this, that sometimes people hear things that haven't actually been said in that way. And we just had that happen in our organization in a totally different context that had me on a call with our CEO, with the head of growth, and with one of the growth managers, all within a period of an hour and a half. And the issue is on what the person heard or thought was said versus what was actually said, because all three of the people on the corporate side have the same path that they're on, right? So sometimes when and this is where the relationships are so important, right? Because based on what this person thought they heard, um, they were hot, and then I was hot, because it was like, why would they say that? Why would they do, like, it's what's going on with leadership. And so in an hour and a half, I'm like, well, I'm not going to wait to find out. I'm going to go have 3 conversations with the most important, influential people in our company and ask, right? Come from a place of curiosity. And then I'm so glad that I stayed in a place of curiosity and was neutral about it, because it was the new person that's new to our culture and new to our community that, for whatever reason, experienced something that was not communicated in that context, or was taken out of context, right? And so with that, that's also an important thing to remember, is that you've got there's always going to be the 2 different sides of the conversation and what actually happened in the middle, right? And so if it's really an issue with the mentor, get a new mentor. And I'm sure corporate wants to know that, right? And that's about letting them know that and opening up that dialogue and that conversation as to why. And then if that mentor that's the current mentor is engaged in that conversation, or comes back in that conversation and be like, well, actually, here's why I said that, or here's the context of why that was said. And Selena just put in the chat, mentor program at exprealty.net, which is how you get in communication. Then the bottom line is, like, how do we get into solution, right? We get paid to solve problems. Every single one of us gets paid to solve problems all day long. That's what we do. And so that means there's always going to be problems. I don't mean problems in a negative sense. I mean problems as opportunities, right? Those problems present themselves as opportunities and so think about what happens every time there is one of those. You have the opportunity for breakdown, where things just break down into a deeper state. And then there's also the opportunity for breakthrough, based on how that issue is handled, addressed, and what happens for the relationships that can be strengthened in that. So sometimes people will have experiences, and they'll go, oh, well, they get really focused on what the problem is, versus, well, that was just an opportunity for me to create a different relationship with the broker team, to get more aligned with a mentor that's actually going to be a better fit for me, to, XYZ, whatever the XYZ is, right? And so in that context, understanding that, And then from a sponsor perspective, like where do we make those connections so that those deeper connections can be made and created? And welcome Mr. and Mrs. Ontario to the call. Okay, Stacy, are we complete?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. So, Deborah, I'm coming over to you next.
Okay.
So tell me what your vision is. If you were to say my vision is, finish the sentence.
My vision is 50 in the org by next December.
Okay. And then outside of the number of agents in your organization, as you see building and growing the organization, like that piece of it, what is that? What's the overarching, like, why are you doing this piece?
My value, my vision or my desire is always to bring value, serve people with excellence, and provide people a pathway to build legacy and wealth, especially within the community that I currently serve. So I've always been in a space. I've been in real estate for over 25 years, and I was in production, but then I went into the space of building the realtor and their business. Um, I enjoy that. And so I just want to constantly be that resource to the agent that feels I can't do it. And for me to be the yes, you can, and here's how. And so that's just my heart for people. And I think real estate's probably the not the easiest, but a space that most can dive into and grow in, with the right support and help. And I feel I'm part of that solution.
Yeah. So the piece to bridge for where you're currently at is you haven't yet built the organization. You've been in the industry for the number of years that you've been in the industry, and it's really about how do you get into conversations now with agents that you have. Like, how many agent relationships would you have, would you say, as a result of being in the industry for as long as you have been?
Thousands. Victor laughs because he's one of my relationships. Thousands. And so
Yeah.
it's like I mean, maybe that's where I'm at. It's a little bit overwhelming in the
Uh-huh.
sense that I've got so many opportunities, and I don't even know. I've got a list right now of 200, and those are my A's. And I'm like, how do I like go from one to the other, and trying to figure out follow up boss because I used a different CRM, and I think I'm a little overwhelmed with all the things. So how do I streamline? Let's change that. How do I streamline my day to day so that I could be the best person for those conversations?
Yeah. So I'm going to take us back to the flow of the system. So you've got your story in place, you've got your list in place, and so really your focus is invite, expose, and upgrade. And so for the relationships that you're in and the relationships you have, it's an invitation into a conversation about their business right now and the future of of what's possible. You said bring value, serve, and have a pathway to create legacy wealth. The majority of the agents that you're gonna be talking to do not have a pathway to create legacy wealth. And they're quite possibly maybe in a totally different conversation, which is the conversation of what it's like to sell real estate in this market and never having experienced what leverage and ownership looks like without responsibility and liability.
Mm.
I'm going to say that again. What leverage and ownership looks like without liability and responsibility. I'm going to write that down for myself because I'm going to use it again. Leverage and ownership without liability and responsibility. So what that means is, I just talked with a broker yesterday, and He's been in the business since 2019, and he's been a broker the last 3 years, and he's done 3 transactions year to date personally. And he's got his broker's license. However, he doesn't have other agents with him in the brokerage. So his conversation was like, what are you seeing? What are people doing to like grow and build their businesses right now in today's market? And so where that conversation comes into play is, yeah, let's help the transactions and more business and have that conversation, but also in a time where there is like a compression, like there has been, that it's a bigger conversation of what if you had leverage and ownership in your business without the liability and responsibility of what it normally looks like for being a broker. But what if you had that in your business to augment whatever the sales and transactions are that you're going to inevitably be doing on your own? And so when you get someone in a different conversation, and then we go back to uh, the invitation becomes, if I could show you a way to do that, are you open to that conversation? And what that could look like for you, right? And so
Yes.
in that then is the next piece of the system, which is the exposure process. And the exposure process being, let's look at a platform that can, let's look at a platform and community that can actually do that. And because of your relationships with people and your relationships being great, the model explained is 30 some minutes, 30 minutes and change, right? And if every day you had agents that you are in relationship with, contemplating new ideas or how things work or being in a different conversation, and then pivoting those agents into third party validation calls the same day, maybe within the same hour, if you had an hour set up with them, so that in the first half hour you guys are watching the model explain, and in the second half hour the opportunity for the third party validation call and breaking that down, or you're using that as the next step afterwards. And that's what you focus on every day, is how many of those conversations did I reach out and have and open the door in the context of an invitation? How many of them did I, sit in the context of going through the model explained so that they actually can see the model? And then how many of those did I either, continue that conversation in that moment and pivot to a three-way call, or immediately pivot into a three-way call at the end of that? And that's what's going to, if you focus on those things, everything else will take care of itself.
Okay.
It's it's the revenue producing activities of building an organization, right?
Right. Thank you. That one liner though is powerful. Liability without the liability and responsibility.
Yeah, leverage and ownership. What would your business look like with greater leverage and ownership
Ownership.
without liability and responsibility that normally comes with those things? And that is a question to get somebody thinking. Like, so that's the power of that question, because now their brain has to go look for an answer. Well, number one, what do you mean by leverage and ownership without liability and responsibility? So they might look for a clarifying understanding of what you mean when you're asking that question. And then now their mind is going to work on a track that it wasn't on at all before, right? Because maybe they're just thinking about, how do I do more business right now in this market? Which is, totally possible, because a lot of agents are in that spot. And then there's a lot of agents that aren't in that spot. They're, they're doing business. I just, there's somebody that I'll be following up with later today based on a conversation from this morning. She's like, you really need to reach back out to this woman and follow up with her. She's got 8 deals closing this month. She's looking to make a move in the next 2 months. Um, and she definitely wants it to be with EXP, but she doesn't have somebody that she wants to be with here yet. Right. So some people don't have a number of transactions and business issue right now. Her issue is, how do I transition into a place where I'm going to get a bigger return on my business, and somebody that would be competent and capable to take that business over on referrals as she transitions out of the business over the next couple of years, right? And who's the right person to be working with, and the right people that are going to make sure that happens at the level that she's worked at herself, right? So everyone's got a different need, a different conversation. but it doesn't change the fact that with those relationships that you have, it's getting into those conversations to be able to see what is there to invite them into.
Mhm.
Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah. And then keeping a super narrow focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this context, sometimes we think like we hear, oh, like just do events or run around and add value and it's going to happen. Well, I mean, we've been doing the Free Friday coaching calls for years now. We have a woman that's been jumping on them that's not with the XP. And like part of why we do the Free Friday coaching calls is for all those people that Rick had relationships, industry relationships with, as a way like, hey, we're here. And when they want to have that conversation, like we're here to have it. Well, one of the women that jumps on that call regularly reached out to Selena. She's like, oh, I'm so excited. I joined EXP. Well, she never had a conversation with us about it and she didn't join with us. Right. So if you think you're going to run around and do events just to add value and bring value to people and they're going to join EXP with you, that's not going to happen. It is the one-to-one conversations that engage people that have you be personally attached to their process, and then those events add as other upgrades. Like we talked about earlier in the call today, an event is an upgrade. An event's not the thing that's going to have someone want to be at EXP with you, right? It's the upgrade to their process in a due diligence context. So, oh, questions on that, Deborah?
No, that's good.
So what did you
Totally noted.
say? What did you hear me saying? What's going to be different now on the other side?
Really honing into the conversation, staying curious about them. And, you know, for me, it's the listening intently to the need and not thinking about the end. It's just staying present within them in that conversation. I do like the ability to book that hour, do the first 30 with them to understand, and then do that validation. Right? It's
So
like those questions.
the first 30 is with the model explained, right? So there
Yeah,
would be the invitation, which is the conversation that you're having with them. And in that invitation, now you're getting the hour. In the hour, it's the model explained with them to then like roll right into a third party validation call at the end of that. So it can happen all in one piece together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Rosie, you sent me a text message that I think I saw and I don't think I responded to. And it was strategy session, 10-minute strategy session. And we happen to have 15 minutes left in the call. What do you want to strategize? Is it in the context of building?
I mean, kind of. I mean, I think I answered my own question. I just, my go-to, so for those of you who don't know, Casey is my sponsor, which, she has the privilege of being able to, answer my calls when I'm having a mental crisis. Like, and anyways, when I say a crisis, it was just I was brainstorming on a speaking topic, and that's what it was. And so Casey's a really, really good speaker. She's trained for it. She speaks internationally, and so it was more of just strategizing around the message. And the purpose of having that strategy session is because when you do, like, these are two things. Casey and I did this amazing little retreat in a room full of super powerful women inside of EXP, Elizabeth Riley, one of them, and, you know, many other names. So we had this retreat with Renee Rodriguez, and had an opportunity to go through and refine, you know, our storytelling skills. And it was a great experience. I think my biggest takeaway from that was really the power of your voice, or the power of my voice, I should say. And when you do have an audience, you know, it is a privilege, and it's also an opportunity to like impact these people and take them into movement, right, into a space, and to open up a new opportunity or a new way of looking at things. Anyways, And so with that in mind, I have a couple of speaking things coming up, and I wanted to get clear on my message. And that's one of the things here as we like look at who we're in partnership with and who we're building with is, that relationship should be, in the perfect world, it's a very natural friendship, partnership that you develop. As I say this, as Deborah spoke recently, and she had such a good message, I build, and we went through it a couple times, so I was privileged to be that kind of sounding board for her. And her speech was very moving. So that's what it was, Casey. I'll kind of circle back with you on that, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. We can definitely circle back on that. So, Victor, since you're on the call for the first time and integrating what everyone was looking to take out of the call today, your question was around what are the best practices, right now in the last 3 to 6 months. And then Ted, yours around becoming a greater recruiter. It's really leaning into the system that's available, right? So have the relationship, do the invite, take them through an exposure process and keep utilizing. And Celine and I were on a call yesterday, and the question came up about the context of the call we were on was about co-sponsorship. And so it created this whole thing because some of the things that are being put out there on social media is, oh, well, have two sponsors. There's more value in having two sponsors. And I would say to you, that's ridiculous. And the reason is, what if instead of going, oh, well, I need a sponsor here and a sponsor there, what if someone had introductions to 4 to 5 of the people that came in that are in their lineage, that are financially invested in their growth and success, and had the opportunity to meet 4 or 5 of those people, up to seven levels up, and create relationships with them and plug into the things that they're doing and get, the value from that. Like, why do we need to look at having a totally different person and a totally different organization to add value? Because I know that those same people are not being run up the food chain, so to speak, to have the opportunity to create relationships with 4 to 5 people that are actively building, growing, there to support them in any way that they want to be supported, right? So in this context of helping people get what it is that they want and being a value and the value of the organization, my calendar is not that booked up with three-way calls. Barely. Like, on a regular day, 1 or 2; on a busy day, 3 to 5. That's nothing for the size of the organization that we have, right? So I would say that is an underutilized tool, and that when utilized at a higher level, a lot of the things where people are stuck or there's noise or distraction, that starts to shift and change. So, Victor, the best practices over the last 3 to 6 months are the same best practices over the last 3 to 6 years. And that is, have the relationship, invite people into the conversation, hand walk them through a due diligence process, and upgrade them into as much of our community as you can, meaning they're meeting them, experiencing them, whether that's initially through Zoom and a third-party validation call, and then an in-person event, to continue that upgrade process and to wind that back into what Stacy was saying. And, well, what does it look like to be a good sponsor? And the responsibilities of a good sponsor is, yeah, like, go to the event so that you can invite to the event, right? And go to EXPCon so that you can invite people to EXPCon. Go to Build LA so that you can invite people to Build LA. And that all becomes part of that ongoing thing. And so I think that as human beings, our nature is we want to make things more complicated and more hard than they need to be for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that is. Sometimes it just feels great to have, like, gotten to the other side of something that was really hard and complicated, because there's a rush. It's like, oh, I'm a hero. Look at me. I can beat my chest because that was really hard. Now here I am on the other side. And the truth is, does it really need to be that hard?
No.
Casey, I have something, and I don't know if you have covered this in this meeting or previous ones, but this is a new world for me. The the growth resources, I don't know, who here by show of hands has like spent, you know, a good couple of hours in there? Other than Selena, who's always on top of everything and ahead of the game. That's why we love her. Selena, we met someone the other day and I was like, you know what? This Deborah, I'm sorry, it was Deborah's connection. And she's like, I'm like, Selena would be so perfect because she was of that, you know, like excellent, that level of excellence that you carry in detail. So anyhow, so can I do a quick screen share?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to show, I wanted to share this with the group for two reasons. One is, I mean, do you guys remember when you got into real estate and you knew nothing and you probably got very little training, and then, you know, they said, well, here, just, you know, call people, right? Let me know when you have a client, or yeah, just go door knocking with me, or whatever it was, right? Whenever you learn something new, you didn't get a lot of training, how confident were you, right? Probably not so much. And kind of circling back to the whole speaking thing, I was calling Casey because I was feeling like, I don't know if I'm going to be prepared. And then through that, it was like, well, the more preparedness equals confidence, right? And so if you're feeling like, well, what can I offer, right? What can Rosie offer? What can, you know, Victor offer, or Laura or Stacy or whatever? What can I offer? And like Casey says, it's not about me. It's not about what I can offer. Like, I have nothing compared to everything that EXP International has built, right? And so something you can use to really up your game and say, oh, this is, you know, this is available, is the growth tab. So I'm going to share with you really quickly, have it up. And I myself am in the process of just running through all of this because EXP 2.0 came real fast. I do love that about our company. They just roll stuff out and they're like, yeah, by the way, we just cut this. Go to this page, it's right there. They don't say it's coming, and then it's never here. So just a couple things, like this is under my EXP, and then you go to tools, and then you find your growth resources tools. And so attraction resources, I'm going to go ahead and go to this toolkit and share with you, look at all this goodness and amazingness. And, you know, you could go in and you can do your own little disc assessment to see what kind of an attractor you are. This is a thorough understanding of RevShare, the EXP Explained videos. One person that I brought over early on, they literally in a matter of 3 days watched one of these videos 17 times. And this is like literally they're like, you know, I've already watched it 17 times. I am memorizing the verbiage. You know, the phrases, the approach, like it was a study, right? Until they got confident in being able to share. And then from that point on, all they did was third-party validation calls and just learned. And they didn't use me all the time. They used me very little. They started going to, you know, Brent Gove and to Gene Frederick and like to all the people that were the big perp people and still are, but at the time. Anyways, you want to do an event, you want to connect with the growth team, you can book an appointment, scripts and dialogues, like what do I say, you know, everything here. So I'm in the process of exploring this site. I want to show you one more thing.
Will you go back out and to exactly how you got there? Because how you said you got there on tools is not the same thing for me.
Okay, yeah. And you know, it's funny because somebody else has something different too. But
yeah, I do. I've been living in it.
Yeah. So you can also do a live strategy session. So I just want to show you this before I back out, because you can book a call with any one of the growth leaders. And they're all growth leaders. So you can, I mean, although they cover different areas, there's nothing stopping you from saying, hey, you know, I want to book an appointment and like, you know, what do you think about this? Or, you know, what's your approach or whatever? They're there. We had, let me back out to where I got here. Okay, so is it here? is my, I'm gonna stop share and start all over because I'm gonna get
I'm gonna
lost.
say don't share that.
Oh
Um,
my,
I
already
put the
shut.
links. I put the links in the chat, guys, as well. Like there are so many toolkits now, like so many toolkits. So like go in there. They had one. I used the one for Slack the other day because I couldn't remember how to start a channel, right? Like, but this one, like Rosie's not wrong. Like, and they're constantly adding new stuff, in the growth toolkit. So this isn't something like one and done. Like you go, you look at it, you read it, and you go back to it regularly. There's a lot in there.
I lost you guys, sorry. I was checking out her Zoom. Her toolkit. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, so do you guys have the link there, or do you want me to start all over, Casey?
So you said when you're in My EXP, you go to tools.
Okay, let me start all over. I'm doing it right now, just waiting for my computer to catch up with the
So Rose,
conversation.
when I go to My EXP and click on tools, this is what I see, which is not what you had.
Okay, great. So let's see, scroll down. There's nothing.
Yeah, mine doesn't have that either. I go in through my toolkit or the toolkit thing.
If you click on knowledge base, go down to resources and education,
Knowledge base.
right there,
Okay.
EXP toolkits. Boom. Now you get all of them.
That's the one that Selena was on, but that's not the one Rosie was on.
All right. Hold on. I'm here now on my screen,
Okay, I'm gonna stop share.
and I went here.
So that's a whole different.
Yeah. Okay. And then I went to view your app. Okay, you know where you were a moment ago, Casey?
Mm-hmm.
Go back to where you were a moment ago.
Under
And-
tools,
Yeah.
view and access your EXP apps.
Yes, but you're not sharing screen right now. So
And it still looks different than yours. This is what it looks like when I do that.
yes. Uh-huh. And then I find the growth tab.
That's Okta for anybody who's interested. If you go to your Okta login, if you
Resources. Oh, there you go. Okay.
There you go.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it did. Okay, thank you for walking us through that together.
Well, thank you. I know I would have been like, it's lunchtime. I'll find that another year.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the great thing is that Selena put the two links here. So copy them and just keep those tabs open, and practice. So
Cool. Thank
but-
you for that. We're recording this, and I know we need to stop the recording because we have our team meeting that's starting right now. So thank you guys all for being on. Rosie, thank you for bringing some extra value. And Deborah's got to jump too. We'll see
I
y'all
gotta
soon.
jump.
I'll circle back with you about strategy.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.